Thank you, Rod. Happy Canada Day from the foothills of our great country. Set for the Calgary Stampeders home opener against Winnipeg Bombers, and Stamps both looking for their first victory of 2016.
Oh, Canada. The two starting running backs tonight are proud Canadians. Andrew Harris starts for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, was born and raised in Winnipeg, is now playing for the team he grew up watching, was Week 1's leading tailback, and Jerome Messam is from Brampton, Ontario, and starts tonight for the Calgary Stampeders. 2 years he's rushed for over 1,000 yards. Two of our own folks on this Canada Day matchup.
There's Dave Dickinson, Hall of Fame quarterback, 5-year offensive coordinator, looking for his first CFL victory as the head coach after dropping his debut 20-18. Mike O'Shea's Bombers were beaten 22-14 in their opener against Montreal. Winnipeg trying to change their fortunes here at McMahon. They have lost 12 of their last 13 visits. They were swept last year by Calgary, but 2 of the 3 games were dominated by the Bombers, and the Stampeders somehow found a way to win them. Rene Paredes getting set to kick it off. And we are underway. Quincy McDuffie is deep and fields it at the Bomber 3. And the speedy McDuffie, who led all returners last week, is up across the 25. Drew Willie, coming off a strong second half, gets set to lead the Bombers out.
Yeah, Drew Willie ended up with over 300 yards passing in their first game against the Montreal Alouettes, and it was really the tale of two halves. 77 net yards offensively in the first half for Willie, 305 net yards in the second, so they did get to find that rhythm as the game went on. See if they can pick up where they left off in that second half here tonight.
Weston Dressler not in the lineup after being shaken up in Week 1. A quick hitter, and the pass is caught by James Davis, who had 5 catches last week for 82 yards and a first down on the initial play.
Leading tailback in the Canadian Football League in Week 1 was our Canadian Andrew Harris, who's back home with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And there's your receiving core. One change. Weston Dressler hit and had a concussion last week, is out of the lineup. Thomas Mayo will replace him. And there's the offensive line. Patrick Neufeld was nicked, but is in.
And here's Harris, right side. Lowers the pads and is up at the 40-yard line, pick up a 4.
You don't say this very often, but for the Calgary defense, every one of those defensive linemen had a sack in Week 1, except Charleston Hughes. Expect him to get one early and maybe often tonight. He's got a pretty good record against Winnipeg. Deron Mayo and Taylor Reed lead that linebacking core, and a good secondary back there that have played together for at least 3 years, with the exception of Tommy Campbell.
Harris 19 touches last week, 4 in his first today, and another conversion. There's the newcomer taking the spot of Weston Dressler. It's Thomas Mayo, who spent some time with the Raiders and New York Jets, and he has 9 and a Bomber first down.
Yeah, I asked Paul LaPolice about Thomas Mayo, and he's in because Weston Dressler is out. Said he's a good route runner. He played in every position in training camp, really tested how he adapted to that. Said he's ready.
More passing first downs already in this first half than last week in the first half. They'll dump it off, and this is the fullback, Christophe Normand, into Calgary territory and dropped at the Stampeder 52.
I found that as a sort of a common thread through Week 1 for the offenses, especially guys that were coming off of injuries like Drew Willie. The offenses were a little bit behind in the first quarter. We saw that in Toronto. Paul LaPolice and I talked about it before the game, offensive coordinator for Winnipeg, and he expects that offense to start in a rhythm. It looks like they are.
And the handoff to Harris once again, and he will plow down to the 45, and 7 more for Harris. 19 touches, 120 yards in the game last week against Montreal, most in the second half.
Yeah, nice push by that offensive line. Patrick Neufeld and Stanley Bryant at the tackles. They take care of the ends, trying to pinch down for the Calgary Stampeders, and Andrew Harris part of the offense early. That was a bit of an issue last week.
Now they take the jet sweep to Ryan Smith, and intended for Darvin Adams, incomplete, being watched by the newcomer on the corner for the Stamps. That's Tommy Campbell.
Interesting story. Tommy Campbell jumped that real quick. The only rookie back there in the secondary. A secondary that when you add it all up, they look like they're going to be a strong group all year long. Fred Bennett and Jamar Wall played together for 5 years on the other side. Tommy Campbell's a newcomer, but he could fly.
3 years with your Tennessee Titans.
Yes, sir.
2nd and 10. Willie has time, throws in off target, intended once again for Adams, who's had some big games against Calgary. So a promising drive comes to an end, and Justin Medlock, with the breeze at his back, is coming on to attempt what looks like about a 52-yarder.
Well, yeah, I mean, Justin Medlock last week pushed the elastic, didn't he? He hit a 58-yarder, so now Mike O'Shea says, oh, this is a chip shot. In reality, 52 is not a chip shot.
Kind of Bomber record with the 58-yarder, matching Bernie Ruoff on a record that had stood since 1975. So Medlock, and they fake it, and they'll throw it out, and a great catch. But they'll be stopped short of the first down. Burnett with the catch. Tony Burnett off the fake. Little surprised. Medlock was practicing from 60 out in the warm-up, but here the pass is caught, but the Stampeders not fooled.
Well, this is how they draw it up. Tony Burnett's going to hit the flat, but there's only one problem. Calgary's Fred Bennett jams it up. Watch how he comes up. He reads it, the veteran corner, and he jams Burnett so he can't get out here to the flat. Now Nichols has to try and float it out there to him, and Taylor Reed has time to rally. But if not for that jam from Fred Bennett, that may be a first down Bombers. Veteran corner comes up big.
A couple of turnovers on downs last weekend. One here on the opening possession is Taylor Reed.
Challenging the previous play for defensive pass interference.
So
on number 26.
You mentioned the jam, and now the Bombers are going to challenge whether or not we had pass interference.
Well, pass interference would have to be when the ball's in the air in the direction of the target. Let's see as Tony Burnett comes out here. I don't think the jam is a problem. Well, that hand we didn't see from the first look, and the grab could be. Now this is the original look, and from this angle it just looks like he gets a jam. You can jam from the line of scrimmage all the way to the 5-yard mark in the new rules that were put in last year. So the jamming is fine. Now Michael O'Shea is on that other sideline. He's over here, and that's the push to the flat. So he saw the grab from Fred Bennett. I don't know if it's enough to draw a penalty flag, because it looked like he broke through it. But that's what the review is right there, and Matt Nichols, the holder, tried to throw it.
So is that enough of a hold as the left hand came across near the shoulder pads?
Boy, that
Bombers on the sidelines checking the play out on the iPad.
Boy, Taylor Reed closed quickly when he recognized the fake.
Tim Croker's in charge. Looks like he's getting the verdict.
This is the first challenge I think we've seen with pass interference challengeable by coaches where it was a special teams fake, a special
After
teams
review,
play.
There's no defensive pass interference on the play. It'll be first down Calgary.
So it is a turnover, and the Stampeders offense will stay on the field and get ready to go to work. Had a 17-6 lead in BC, but stalled in the fourth quarter, only 1 point. The Lions roared back in that game. How about BC?
Yeah, 2-0
tonight. And here's the handoff to Jerome Messam. They said they didn't get him the ball last week, just 7 carries, 16 yards. He gets it and has 7 on his first carry of the night.
Yeah, just not enough touches for Jerome Messam, so I'm sure he'll get the ball a lot more and provide a little more balance. There is Kamar Jordan, that inside slot back position. Big shoes to fill. Eric Rogers no longer a Calgary Stampeder. And up front, Derek Dennis. People think he may be in our top 50 quickly, moving up the list.
Second down, and the pass is to Simon Charbonneau-Campo, and he's got a first down across midfield.
Defensively for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Jamal Westerman did not have a sack. The guy was second in the CFL last year, 18 starts for him, 17 sacks. Mo Leggett's making plays, forced a fumble in week 1. And then you take a look at that secondary, and it's a pretty new group. You got Macho Harris in the middle, former Saskatchewan. In that game. And I mentioned the punt return. He said, no, special teams were fine. We blocked a couple of kicks and things like that. He said, we got to finish offensively.
Had trouble making that West connection last week, targeting him 7 times downfield. He's got Marquay McDaniel for another first down, working against Julian Posey. Another Stampeder first down at the 30-yard line. 19 for Mitchell to McDaniel.
Take a look at Brampton, Ontario, and the pass protection on this blitz coming up the middle from Ian Wild, the linebacker. He's going to hit it right out Main Street, and watch the bench press right in the middle of your screen by Jerome Messam. Not today.
So somebody from Brampton's got a good bench press. That's good to hear. Here's Mitchell, wide side, and Anthony Parker can't hang on. A couple of catches for Parker last week. Levi Mitchell 5-1 in his career against Winnipeg, and he's part of that group that have never lost 2 consecutive games.
Yeah, he has not, as a starting quarterback, lost back-to-back games.
70 straight games since 2012. That's on the line here tonight. 2nd and 10. Pressure on. Mitchell gets it away and overshoots a wide open target. Simon Charbonneau-Campo.
Simon Charbonneau-Campo looked like he hesitated and then looked and then accelerated. Bo Levi Mitchell knows the blitz coming. There's Macho Harris, the safety, that's coming off the edge. So there's no one in the middle. That's where he's going to throw it. Look how wide open he is, but Apple just slowed down when he broke that initial layer and then just didn't have the speed to accelerate to it.
Here's Paredes trying to bounce back off a 1-for-3 game last week. Missed from 31, but he hits here, and the Stampeders strike first, just short of the 7-minute mark. 3-0 Calgary. Winnipeg did look good on their first possession. Drew Willie. And an arsenal of receivers like Ryan Smith when we come back.
Now that's in double coverage. A little safety help coming over the top from Jamar Wall.
Just 2nd and 10. Short drop flag down, and the pass incomplete through the hands of Andrew Harris, isolated on the weak side linebacker, Duron Mayo.
I'm going to decline that. It'll be 3rd down.
There's no infraction on the play. It'll be 3rd down.
That is the video official at the command center. When the flag was thrown, that's new this year. There's a video official at the command center that saw what they thought was an infraction and called it off.
Roy Finch drops deep. Finch looked dangerous in the opener against BC. Fields this at the 27 and jukes his way through a tackle and finally pulled down at the 44, taking the spot of Tim Brown this year at 17 exciting yards on the return for Roy Finch.
Make sure we're playing fast and physical. The game will come to us, okay? Discipline, guys. Play the call and play the system. Don't be selfish. Okay, don't be selfish. Make sure we're all in. This whole group is all in. You're all in practice. You're all in tonight, and we will win this game. All right, kick ass on 3. 1, 2, 3. Kick ass.
And he's kicked some in his day. A national college champion, a Hall of Fame quarterback, offensive coordinator of an offense that has lit it up. Here's Messam off the left side as they try to get him going up to the 49.
And he's learned from the best, as John Huffnagel in the succession plan here in Calgary that's been in place for a couple of years. John Huffnagel moves up and becomes president and general manager. And Dave Dickens, who was the offensive coordinator, now becomes the head coach. And he's learning from a Hall of Famer himself, John Huffnagel. Great winning percentage since he returned to the CFL back in 2008.
2nd and 6. And the slant pattern is caught. Catch made by West. Although Kevin Fogg trying to get the officials' attention. He's not sure that ball didn't hit the turf.
Well, if you're sitting on your couch watching, you can get West's view of this throw and catch.
Looks like a nice grab.
That's a really good catch. Down low, got his hands underneath it. Just in front of Kevin Fogg.
Be short of the 1st down, less than a yard.
Short yardage has been interesting early on in this CFL season. A couple of turnovers in short yardage in Saskatchewan by the Riders.
And on Canada Day, it's nice to see a Canadian quarterback under center. Andrew Buckley, the 2-time Heck Creighton Trophy winner. On 3rd down, tries left side, stuttered a little bit. He'll get pushed back, and a flag down on the play as well.
Well, it might be a moot point because usually it's defensive offside. They either lined up or someone flinches, tries to anticipate the snap count, but
Calgary native, Calgary Dino star.
Offside, Winnipeg defensive line. 5-yard penalty.
The entire line.
1st down.
So they didn't give the full yard, and they're moving 5 ahead.
But the young Andrew Buckley has got to make a mental note on this quarterback sneak here that he's got to decide a little quicker than this. He tries to slide to his left. That's okay. Find your hole. But then hit it up in there. Ian Wild stood him up and pushed him back. If there's no penalty, that would have been close.
5 receivers set. Mitchell back in. And looks for Torrey Harrison, who can't make the catch. Ian Wild was tracking him. Harrison with 18 catches last year and 5 touchdowns.
Great luxury when you can take your linebacker and have him come out of the backfield, and when that back runs a corner route, he can run with them like a DB. 8 tackles for Ian Wild in Game 1 versus Montreal. That basically led his football team, and he was in perfect coverage there.
Like Garrison had a shot at it, and Wild with the breakup. 2nd and 10. Messam stays in. Mitchell rolls and unleashes deep. Nobody there. Westhead pulled up, and Chris Randall, closest man to it.
Good series here for Ian Wild. Again, he drops out, and he is the guy, I think, that takes away the first read here for Bo Levi Mitchell. He walks out, and he's going to make it look like he's coming out to make a jam, and then he'll roll back into the throwing lane. And when Bo Levi Mitchell goes to throw this seam, there goes Wild. See how he rolls back in here into the seam. Mitchell doesn't like what he sees, and he throws it away.
Here's Rob Maver. Remember, the Stamps had one return against them last week. And it's McDuffie. 48-yard punt. And McDuffie brings it back across the 15-yard line. Long field for Drew Willie when we come back to McMahon in Calgary. Still running the offense, but more responsibilities as the head man with more. Let's check in on the sidelines. Jermaine Franklin.
Chris, Dave Dickinson admitted to me that it's been quite the adjustment for him as the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders. The biggest challenge that he's had to deal with is the fact that he is a naturally hands-on coach, meaning when he was just the offensive coordinator, he could huddle with his players after every series, solve problems, as well as make adjustments. Now, as the head coach, he doesn't have that same luxury, meaning that he has to trust his coaches. Dickinson said that's been a challenge in terms of leaving it all up to them, but it's something he'll get better at as time goes on.
Well, you can bet on that.
Yeah. Well, and I know it would be a struggle. I mean, a former offensive coordinator, a former quarterback wants to get with the quarterback whenever he's on the bench and talk with him and the offense. Now he's got to watch what the defense is doing, too, as the head coach and special teams.
Catching the long field for the Bombers. Andrew Harris gets wrapped up and tossed down. Frank Beltre, or excuse me, Jagarrett Davis with the tackle, one of the newcomers.
Yeah, this play didn't look like it was executed the way it was supposed to be executed. I'm not sure if Drew Willie was supposed to pull this and try and fake this around the edge or what, but the timing of it with the pull and when Andrew Harris got the ball, I mean, the 3-yard loss didn't look very good.
2nd and 13. Here comes extra pressure. Willie stands in, throws, and complete to Smith. The momentum takes him out of bounds, a couple of yards short of the first down.
You know, this are little things, but again, it's the accuracy. Now, in that play, Drew Willie had a little bit of pressure on him, and that may have caused the throw to be a little bit outside and pull Ryan Smith to the sideline. Had he just hit him between the numbers, and Willie in his past has shown great accuracy, then he turns the corner and gets plenty of yards for first down territory. Just that accuracy is just a bit off for Drew Willie.
2nd 2 and out after the opening possession. Drove into what looks like field goal range. Roy Finch. This time contained by Calgary native Sam Hurl, who tosses him down out of Centennial High School here in Calgary.
It's a different look. I heard Matt Dunnigan talk about it before the game on the panel. It's a different look Calgary Stampeders. We've shown you that Dave Dickinson now on the sideline, John Huffnagel up as president and general manager. No John Cornish, the feature back for years here in Calgary. And then Eric Rogers, the number one receiver in the league last year, no longer with this team.
And an offensive line that's gone through a lot in the last year or so with retirements and injuries. Good field position start around the 50. And there's Rob Cote, one of the mainstays in his 10th year. Cochrane, Alberta's Rob Cote's got a first down.
115 starts for Rob Cote. And I don't know how many times I've circled him with my telestrator, but every time I do, it's for something positive, a big block, a tight end move where he gets protection for his quarterback. The odd time he gets the ball, he executes well. Solid player. You need those guys, the role players.
First down, and they swing it out. Anthony Parker's got it. Gets taken down by the safety, Macho Harris, with help from Ian Wild. Oh, excuse me, it's Markway McDaniel the catch. Number 16.
Dave Dickinson probably want to get him more involved too. Again, 1,000-yard receiver a year ago. A couple of 1,000-yard receivers years on his resume. And Markway McDaniel just 2 catches in game 1 against BC.
One monster game against Winnipeg last year. 9 catches and 159 yards in Winnipeg. There's a ball that was up for grabs, and it did get to Anthony Parker.
Julian Posey, I don't think he can get any closer to an interception. And he was so close and thought he had this play that he's waved it off as if Parker, there's no way he could have caught that, could he? He came from the inside out with an excellent angle. And good on Anthony Parker for just fighting off that coverage.
So it requires a measurement, just comes up short. Short yardage team comes back onto the field.
Defensive coordinator Richie Hall, former teammate of mine many years ago. Taking care of this defense. Got some athletes back there. Maurice Leggett, playmaker in the linebacking core. We've seen a couple of big plays by Ian Wild. Haven't talked about Khalil Bass yet, but we will before the night's over, guaranteed.
Here against Andrew Buckley. If you saw the Around the Table show with the CFL coaches, Buckley's going to move the chains well this time with a pickup of 3 to 4 yards. Dave Dickinson in that show, which was taped prior to the season and prior to training camp, said, I think Andrew Buckley can be a starting quarterback in this league.
Well, he beat out Brian Moniz, and he's in the Saskatchewan Rough Rider program now. And yeah, Andrew Buckley is not there because he's a Canadian. He's there because he earned the 3rd spot and he's working his way up. He's got that short yardage responsibility, and that was a big one right there.
So Mitchell back out, threw that one away on the run, and a little confusion there. He thought West was going to be in a different spot.
Well, 2 things. Yeah, he's looking at Joe West saying, wait a minute, you know, I threw you to where you were supposed to be. That was the body language from the quarterback. I'm not sure that when Bo Levi Mitchell made that fake that he expected to have that kind of pressure from Bruce Johnson right in his face either.
Halfback blitz. And so it's 2nd and 10. 3 receivers wide side. Mitchell looking the near side, but he's in trouble and is dropped. And there's a sack for Trent Corney, a Canadian out of Brockville, with his first Canadian Football League sack. Big story in Bomber camp, a bit of a character, the number 9 pick in the draft, and Corney gets home for a sack.
Yeah, good size at 6'3", 254, and he's just going to come off that edge, keep working at it from the backside, and that's an all-star out there in Derek Dennis, or at least people believe he will be this year. Ran right around him, right around the horn, and caught Bo Levi Mitchell from behind.
Boy, did he show some speed. Went to Virginia. And now from 45 yards out, it is blocked. And the Bombers get on it. And it's Julian Posey with it. Hernandez trying to catch him. And Posey's out around the 2. The block from Macho Harris and Posey brings it inside the Calgary 5. So special team problems again here in week 2 for the Stampeders. Take another look. Macho Harris with the block. Bombers with the football when we come back. Stamps have the edge, but the big play on the final play of the opening quarter for the Bombers.
I think the numbers would be better for both quarterbacks had they hit on a couple of the deep ball attempts. That's been the problem for Winnipeg, certainly, and Calgary also struggling a little in that deep ball.
No, we're proud of this great league. What a great advantage it is for us to travel across the country every summer, and I know you're the pride of New Westminster, BC. Brampton gets way too many plugs already, but special day.
Yeah, you're right, and I've seen your bench press, and you're right, Jerome Messam is much better. And happy Canada Day to everybody, and this is a chance, too, where I always want to thank our military and the men and women in the Canadian Armed Forces. Certainly the 417 Squadron in Cold Lake that I'm involved with, those are my teammates out there in Cold Lake, but all the Canadian forces here and around the world that are protecting our way of life.
Here we go. Matt Nichols hands it off. Andrew Harris to the goal line and then pushed back with no signal. Didn't break the plane. Although it looks like Harris wants to argue the fact.
Boy, short yardage is an adventure. Right now, the defense is winning across the league in short yardage. Now, did the ball cross the plane? The official behind that pile looked like he was blocked. His view might have been blocked.
Let's see if we'll get a challenge or not. Not on the bench, so they're going to line up. Second down, Nichols, and it looks like he's in. Touchdown, Bombers. Matt Nichols with the 1-yard sneak, and the Bombers have their first half points of the season.
Off that left side, Jamarcus Hardrick, Stanley Bryant. He's taken that football and predetermined that he was going left side. Gets there on second effort.
Blanked in the first half last week, 12-0. So the block by Macho Harris, which was quite a play. The return of the fumble recovery by Julian Posey sets up the 1-yard plunge.
That's your cue to SportsCenter to get their record finger ready, because we're going to show you again the block pretty soon from Macho Harris. It's a special play.
Convert from Medlock. And the Bombers have their first lead.
Macho Harris, are you ready, SportsCenter? In 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and roll it. Right up the middle, over the top, blocks the kick, and is gone. Setting up the first Winnipeg Major of the game.
There's a guy that runs the special teams, made his name as an assistant coach with his special teams, the pride of North Bay, Mike O'Shea. A 7-3 Bomber lead. Back in the hands of Finch. Boy, Finch changes direction and is finally tossed down by Ian Wild up around the 38-yard line.
Eastern Washington, Matt Nichols,
who was the Eagles quarterback before Bo Levi Mitchell took over. Using how the connections in football. Number 3 on our top 50 TSN list. 4,551 passing yards last year for Mitchell. Hands it off, Messam, and a big play there as Messam's tossed down by Shayon Green, the rookie out of Miami.
coming off the right edge, the 2-point stance, working one-on-one on Dan Faderkyle. Faderkyle pulls the backside to lead it for Jerome Messam on the run, and because of the speed of Shayon Green, they lose 5 yards on first down.
25 consecutive starts for the Hurricanes for Shayon Green at the end of his career there. Mitchell looked one way, now another, and has a completion over the middle. Joe West with the catch. See where they mark it. Gonna be close to a first down.
Last play, Fader Kyle came from here and he pulled and tried to lead the block. This time he's saying, okay, you're not going to do that again. So he gets him on Green, on Shea on Green, and he says, I'm giving my quarterback some time and just basically lock you down. I mean, not that time. I think that was Westerman actually that switched sides.
And West just had enough for the first down. Up at the 48. Back in the hands of Messam with a cut into the secondary, and Jerome Messam rumbles down to the Bomber 45. 17 for number 33, third in the league last year with just over 1,000 yards.
Off the left side, Shane Bergman and Derek Dennis are going to lead it, and there he is again. Rob Cote playing tight end, coming down, making the seal block to get Messam that hole. A little bit of daylight, he takes advantage of it.
So one more yard on that run than all of last week. And now it's Harrison with the pitch. Lowers the boom as he crosses the 40 down to the 36 and has 9 more on the ground. They wanted to be better on the run this week and have established that here in the first half.
Sometimes for head coaches that are former quarterbacks, running is kind of an afterthought. It's kind of a, well, we will if we have to type of decision, because former quarterbacks like to put it in the air.
Stamp trying to answer that Bomber touchdown, and Harrison on second and short moves the chains.
Seeing some physical football up front, but they do want to establish that line of scrimmage. John Cornish any longer, so there'll be a rotation. Jerome Messam started the game. We'll see Torrey Harrison throughout the game. They switch the ratio, play another receiver, or bring Rob Cote in.
Had trouble staying on the field last week, just 50 plays on offense for Calgary. BC had 68. Got a drive started here, and they'll screen it. Messam can't make the catch.
Jamal Westerman got his hand on that. Got picked up pretty nicely there. Again, it was Dan Faderkyle that was at that tackle spot, trying to get his hands, and he does get his hands on Jamal Westerman. But Westerman keeps going up the field and stays in the passing lane. He sees Messam go out, gets a piece of it, and they can't connect.
Westerman, the top defensive player, Canadian and MOP for the Bombers last year. Second in the league in sacks with 17. Second and 10. Mitchell over the middle, knocked down. Maurice Leggett got a hand on it.
Valdosta State rolls into the middle. 65 tackles a couple of years ago with the Bombers. The nominee for outstanding defensive player. And it's got to regain that form. He's going to drop under this now and is a little casual as he goes to it. Well, it was out in front. I'll give him that one off. Does get the knockdown, but I thought if he got that other hand up, he might have had a chance at the pick.
So Paredes from 38 yards out. Puts it up and through. His second field goal of the game gets Calgary within one. Just past 5 minutes of the second quarter at McMahon. Paul Lapalisse working from the Bombers playbook this year. And at halftime, we'll have the GMC Precision playbook with Milt as he lets you know how he reads defenses, maybe how Paul Lapalisse is trying to read this Calgary defense.
Now, Bo Levi Mitchell's got the iPad trying to figure out the Winnipeg defense while he has a break.
Bombers elect to scrimmage at the 35 after the field goal, and Andrew Harris has about 3.
I still think this offense will start to click, Chris, for Winnipeg when they start to hook up on a couple of those deep balls. It'll loosen up the secondary for the Calgary Stampeders. It actually will cause linebackers to back off the line of scrimmage a little bit more as well, and that gives more space for guys like Andrew Harris. They got to hit on a couple of them.
Suns come out on this Canada Day in Calgary. Bombers working against a slight wind here in the second quarter. Willie was in trouble, ball came loose, but they're going to rule that It was an incomplete pass. And another 2 and out. There's Frank Beltre, who turned up the heat.
1 sack against the BC Lions for Frank Beltre. And he's on an inside move, gets locked on. And that was a forward motion with the arm. Of course, that's incomplete because Andrew Harris right by that. No intentional grounding.
Taylor Reed on the blitz as well. And so Medlock to punt. First time into the wind. Hangs up a bit. Finch at his 35. 37-yard punt. Boy, Finch has some moves, but he is contained. Downfield was rookie Taylor Loeffler. So Bo Levi Mitchell, this revamped Calgary offense. Jerome Messam, the feature back, ready to go to work. Down by 1 at McMahon.
Proud Canadian Wally Buono, 2-0 with his return to the sideline.
Wally Buono 2.0, and here's Kamar Jordan. Had a touchdown last week, gets wrapped up by Bass and Johnson.
Kamar Jordan's got big shoes to fill. Bowling Green guy that you just can't walk up to him if you're Dave Dickinson and say, okay, so Eric Rogers was in your spot last year, and what we need from you is 1,500 and a whole bunch of touchdowns.
Interesting, he's been around for a couple of years in the practice roster and one time ahead of Rogers on the depth chart until he got injured. And Eric Rogers took over, and the rest history. Massive short gain as Euclid Cummings jammed it up, one of the new defensive tackles for the Bombers, the former Toronto Argonaut.
Of course, we're all going to be watching Eric Rogers with the 49ers. Good luck to him, and hello to all our viewers down south on ESPN2.
3rd and a yard, and this time it's Bo Levi Mitchell, and he gets outside. Look out! Well, there's a 3rd and 1 conversion. Ran for 6 yards last week. 18 on 3rd and 1 here.
Bo Levi Mitchell saw short yardage, and he saw the pinching going on from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Everything in the direction of the middle of the formation. He said, okay, if you're going to pinch in there like that, I'll get the edge.
Out of the grasp of Randall. Pulled down by the corner, Kevin Fogg. 3 for 3 on 3rd down gambles in this game. There's another catch by Joe West, tackled by Ian Wild.
Good timing on that throw. This is all about timing. Joe West was coming out of his break, and just as he hit the line and came out of his break on this out route, the ball had arrived. Bo Levi Mitchell, quick check, and then bam, turn in his hands. No way you can cover that. I don't care if you're in man or zone. Difficult when the timing is that crisp.
Got 7, 2nd and 3. At the Winnipeg 35. And they'll pitch to Messam. Cuts back. Runs through a tackle with his power for a 1st down to the 30.
There's the Messam Express starting to get going now. And Ian Wild, one of the great tacklers in the game this year, number 38. He scrapes, he sees it, he has the hole. Now it's one-on-one. And Jerome Messam, I'll tell you what, this wears down a linebacking core, and in the 4th quarter, that's where Messam can really make some yards.
6 carries, 31 yards. Here for Messam tonight, 6 receivers set. And incomplete pass. Jordan couldn't grab it off his shoe tops.
Yeah, I think that was just a stride issue, it looked like, from Bo Levi Mitchell. He just didn't really step into that throw like he did on the opposite side to Joe West. The timing was there, but just looked like he kind of short-stepped that, and the ball hit the turf.
So 2nd and 10. Last week, Mitchell, 59.3% his pass completion percentage. There were 7 quarterbacks over 70% last week. Here comes the rush. He gets it away. Marquay McDaniel, 1st down stamps at the Bomber 12-yard line.
Ian Wild shows blitz and then is going to drop out of there, and Markway McDaniel's going to go just in behind Ian Wild and then just sit down. He sits down, and you see Wild just a little bit too shallow and can't get his hands on it. Watch him drop out of here. Wild will get underneath this throw, and then he just gets a little bit short and misses it by inches.
86 catches last year, just 2 for McDaniel in the season opener. Stamps back in the red zone. Harrison on the backfield and is dropped. Close to another first down at the 2. Chris Randall, the tackle.
Well, this is exactly what Bo Levi Mitchell told me before the game. He said, this is the part of the field that we've got to be better. We've got to lock in. And he had that look in his eyes that it's important once you get down inside the 10, you better come away with a major. And that was an issue in week 1.
Yeah, 2 for 5. In fact, they turned it over twice in the red zone. 9th play of the drive, upcoming. 1st and goal at the 2 with Torrey Harrison in the backfield. Gets the handoff, flag down. Touchdown Harrison and the Stamps.
See what this flag is.
It's like it's going against the Bombers.
Offside, Winnipeg number 22. Penalties declined. Touchdown stand.
Derek Wagner offside. Touchdown stands. Stamp back in front.
Yeah, up at the top here, but it doesn't matter. It's big run from Torrey Harrison. Just plugs it in there. Just a little stutter step there to force Jamal Westerman just to freeze for a second. Then when he does make contact, it's too late. He's already in the end zone.
And for Garrett Wagner's family, we'll tell you it looks like they gave us the wrong number because it was 23 Kevin Fogg that was offside. Calgary goes for 2. And it's knocked down at the goal line. And the defensive play made by Posey.
I think Bo Levi Mitchell is trying to talk to Markway McDaniel to see if they should challenge pass interference here.
Wants to look at the scoreboard replay.
Like he was immediately looking at the official. He thought there was a little early contact from Posey. But he's not over there trying to get to Dave Dickinson. You're allowed to have your hand on the back of the receiver if you're Julian Posey. You just can't twist him.
Out suits.
Yeah, there it is. You just can't twist him.
9-play, 69-yard touchdown drive. And Dave Dickinson wants a look. See if he can get a mulligan on that 2-point convert.
Take a look.
Calgary is challenging the ruling on the play. They believe there was pass interference on the convert. We'll look at the play.
Take a look at the route here from Markway McDaniel. He's going to come up now. He turns inside on Posey. Contact made there. I think Markway McDaniel was twisted after the ball was knocked down. And you are, again, allowed to have your hand on the back of the receiver as long as you don't grab him and turn him. Now, the turn happens once he's down, but the ball had already been knocked down by Posey at that point. But there was some contact made before the ball arrived. Interesting call.
Although Posey does have a right to go for the football.
Yeah, he absolutely does, and he has a right to have his hand on the back of Markway McDaniel as long as, again, he doesn't twist him before the ball arrives. And I didn't see that twist. I think that's pretty close. Take a look at that play. Remember, there was no pass interference called, and so the challenge is to try and generate the call from Dave Dickinson. I'm not sure there's enough evidence to do that, but we'll see.
Above our pay grade.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. There's no pass interference on the play.
So it's a 5-point lead as Posey makes the defensive play to deny the 2-point convert, but a good-looking 9-play Calgary touchdown drive.
Yeah, a little bit of balance in it, too. We saw a nice run by Bo Levi Mitchell on that short yardage play to get out and around the edge. The timing on this throw, excellent from Mitchell to Joe West. The Messam Express got going a little bit, fighting through that Ian Wild tackle. Marquay McDaniel spreading the football, and like Bo said to me before the game, they locked in when they got inside the 10-yard line and finished this drive.
Calgary with 68 rushing yards so far in the game. A deep kickoff. And here comes Quincy McDuffie. Brought down shy of the 30-yard line. By the way, Glenn Love's had 3 special teams tackles already in this game. Leader of that group. And another long field for Drew Willie. The average field position start for the Bombers in week 1 was their own 27-yard line.
And his longest throw tonight, 10 yards, that has been completed. That defense will keep climbing up on receivers unless you get them off you.
Bomber touchdown, the result of a blocked field goal and a long return. Here's Darvin Adams working his way up to the 30 and a first down. The deep threat in this lineup. Had over 100 yards in his last visit to McMahon. We've hit the 3-minute warning here. First half in Calgary.
Rod Smith and the boys back in the studio getting set for halftime. We're going to talk about Calgary's offense. Some what-ifs for Winnipeg. The GMC playbook and highlights of BC's big win over Hamilton. Try not to get too excited, guys. We're still a few minutes away. CC, Suits.
Thanks, Rod. 5-point lead here for the home team. Got the sun shining, a little rain falling, a rainbow as well. It's a typical Canadian summer night. A little bit of everything. And the pass complete to the newcomer, Thomas Mayo.
Let's take a look at how tight the coverage is here on Thomas Mayo, because these defensive backs are not getting out of their backfield. They're just sliding their feet. They're actually not even pedaling hard, because they're just driving down on all these curl routes and slants from Winnipeg.
2nd and 3. It's Harris off the left side, and he's taken down by Taylor Reed. Deron Mayo was there, and Harris stopped short of the first down.
What a story for Taylor Reed. And you think back to that Grey Cup in Vancouver against the Calgary Stampeders when he was a Hamilton Tiger Cat, and the penalty. Bounced back from that with a big year last year in Hamilton.
Not sure that defense is as loud without Jawan Simpson. What a great career he had here in Calgary.
Yeah, we mentioned the offensive players that the Stamps don't have this year from a year ago, and John Cornish and Eric Rogers. Of course, there's Keon Raymond in that linebacking core, and Jawan Simpson, no longer Stampeders. That leadership from Jawan Simpson is where Taylor Reed has got to really pick it up. And Deron Mayo can do that too, because he's been with the organization for 4 years. This is year 5 for Deron Mayo.
Procedure, Winnipeg number 2. 5-yard penalty, they're down.
Khalil Bass called on the procedure, which marches them back 5.
The other guy's Charleston Hughes, Chris, that we haven't, not sure. It's been a quiet beginning to the 2016 for Mr. Hughes in a lot of ways.
Pinch from his 38, trying to get outside, and does, and then runs out of real estate at the Winnipeg bench. We'll stream the best of TV all in one place. Crave TV, now available to everybody. Start your 1-month trial. So there's time for Bo Levi Mitchell and the Stamps offense to add to their lead. Time of possession largely in their favor. Winnipeg had the football in the first half last week for 10-23, and they might not even match that in the first half tonight unless the defense can get a quick stop. Messam again, chugging through the first wave, got a first down, and Jerome Messam finally stopped at the Winnipeg 49.
You know, this sometimes it's about power for Messam. Sometimes it's about just hitting the hole on time and breaking through. Sometimes it's big blocks. This time it's patience. I mean, he just takes his hand off and he's patient. He allows the blocks to get set up. Look at Bergman working his man. Now he sees the outside pressure from Sheon Green, and now he steps up inside of that. Just good patience by Jerome Messam, working his way down the field.
11 for Messam, quick hitter West. And Joe West cut down at the 42-yard line by Chris Randall. 5th catch for West. Not a bad idea for Jerome Messam to run off the left side, because with Bergman, the left guard, and Derek Dennis, the left tackle, there's 688 pounds of blocking. Dennis is 341, Bergman 347 pounds. And Messam's not a lightweight.
263.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just did a double take on that.
I know.
263.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's why it's the Express. And that last play up the middle, that was just a quick hitter. And that's where he hits that hole in a hurry.
8 carries, 53 for Messam. Pass is caught by Jordan. And the Stamps have another first down inside the 25.
You remember the throw by Drew Willie in the first quarter that took Ryan Smith out of bounds? It said the accuracy was just a little bit off. Bo Levi Mitchell throws Jordan to the middle to give him a chance to make that move. That's the difference. Now, it's not much. It's a small margin. But the accurate throw helped Jordan out.
First down, wide side throw gets there. And Anthony Parker's got the catch, brought down by Kevin Fogg.
That may be the throw that every American quarterback that comes up to Canada and gets into training camp and does that for the first time goes, whoa, is that ball ever gonna get to the outside to Anthony Parker? Wait a minute, I'm throwing a 6-yard curl, and it took...
After the play was over, major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary number 88, 15-yard penalty.
That was away from the play.
Yeah, opposite side of the field, which might be an issue. I'm going to say it. I shouldn't, but we haven't had many of those here in this first half.
You just jinxed it. Oh, and it's a cruise hit.
So back at the 26. Mitchell's got some time. Looking in the corner. What a catch. Did he get a foot in bounds? And it is a touchdown. Simon Charbonneau Campo.
After Campo missed that deep one in the first quarter, I saw him talk to Dave Dickinson on the bench, and Dickinson had a few words for him. He was kind of shaking his hands. He just made up for that one. This is a big catch in coverage.
What a terrific catch. And just to confirm that the foot gets down. Sherbrooke product in his 5th year, a broken leg last year, early in the season. So a Canadian hits pay dirt on Canada Day.
Previous play is under review.
They're going to confirm whether or not they did get the foot down.
Well, they review all scoring plays, so that's not a surprise. And there's two things here. Did he get the foot down? And did he use the ground to help him catch it as he hit the turf? Running that corner route out of the top on Maurice Leggett. But this is a monster catch. I mean, he goes up for it and has to fight off Leggett to get there. I think there was no question the foot's in. Did the ball touch the turf? Because he has to survive the fall.
It's like he tucks it in, although he needed to clutch it along his knees to make sure he still had control.
Well, that's okay. If it's against the knee or the thigh, that's not a problem. Is it on the turf there?
Is that going to be an issue?
Because if that's on the turf, then the turf assisted in him hanging on.
the hands wrapped on the ball.
Well, what just a outstanding effort.
Waiting to find out if it's a touchdown and maybe the highlight of the night.
After review, we have a touchdown. We also have roughing the passer, Winnipeg number 2. That 15-yard penalty will be applied on the kickoff.
Oh, like that one.
Second career touchdown for Charbonneau Campo. Khalil Bass called on the roughing the passer. And in the final minute, Kieran Drake and quick 6 down the sidelines. There'll be a special ceremony at halftime to honor Kieran after 23 years of leading the touchdown celebrations here at McMahon.
Penalty on the play as well. The touchdown stands, but Bo Levi Mitchell also hit low here after delivering the throw.
It's like he got tripped up a little on Cam Thorne.
Yeah, Khalil Bass tripped, but that doesn't matter. It's still penalty. It would have been a shame to take that one off. That's a pretty catch.
Really working the A game.
Now a 12-point lead. Bombers trailed by 12 at the half last week. And we'll try to avoid that same issue here in the final minute. Timothy Flanders will drop back along with McDuffie.
Well, and good news for Bomber fans as well is that in the second half last week, they started getting going, that rhythm going. I mentioned that they had 305 net yards in the second half, over 200 yards passing in the fourth quarter alone. So maybe there's second half offense.
There's another point as McDuffie will concede about a dozen yards deep in the end zone. So it's now 20-7. Last 3 possessions for the Stamps: field goal, touchdown, touchdown. In fact, the previous one was the block field goal. They punted once in 6 possessions here in the opening half.
Adjustments will need to be made by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I know that's Captain Obvious type commentary.
Leave that to me. First down, short drop, and the catch made by Adams, and he'll fall forward close to a first down.
Yeah, the catch 22, they're going to be in the hurry-up offense here, try and get some points and momentum going into the half. But the catch 22 on trying to get the receivers deep is that Drew Willie needs another second back in the pocket.
Bombers have punted 4 times, a turnover on downs. The touchdown came after the block field goal, and here goes Willie, and he'll dive down around the 48-yard line. So getting into possible field goal range here after a 17-yard scamper.
Well, I would say they're in field goal range with Justin Medlock as their kicker, although there is a bit of a breeze in their face right now. They might need one more first down.
Got time for a couple more plays before that. Look one way through the reads, and now on a roll. And he'll dump it down, and Andrew Harris out of bounds has the catch. Taylor Reed the tackle, but the Bombers have another first down.
Taylor Reed tried to get him to stay in bounds. He was trying to tackle him in bounds. And Reed is in coverage, doesn't know if he should go and take the contain on Drew Willie or chase Andrew Harris.
Willie drops back again. Harris out of the backfield. Reed slows him up and then brought down by Fred Bennett. And there's no time on the clock.
Boy.
That took longer than the Bombers had designed, and they squander a chance to try a field goal.
Mismanaged the clock. Final 10 seconds.
So it's 20-7 at the half. Let's check in with the panel and Rod Smith.
Thank you, Chris. Really Symptomatic of the recent problems for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as it ends without a chance to put some more points on the board, hence the 7 they do have, and trailing right now by 13. The panel of Milt Stegall, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. More in this game. I mean, let's face it, Winnipeg's offense continues to struggle despite the changes. I mean, their only points basically handed to them by special teams.
Special teams, they had an opportunity to maybe kick another field goal on that last drive, but they couldn't get the field goal team. And, you know, special teams is a big part of the game. And some people are going to be mad about this, but I like this play. When you're desperate, when you're struggling offensively, you have to do whatever you can within your power. And this play works for him very well. Victor Macho Harris makes a great play. Posey picks it up and gets it down to the 1-yard line, and the offense finally capitalized off it. But they know they're not going to win the game making plays like this. Offensively, they have to find a way to get in the end zone or get some field goals, do something positive, because first game and a half, they haven't done anything offensively.
Challenging anybody, Milt?
Nothing.
Well, let me talk about that offense, because we talked about Drew Willie and his struggles as a quarterback, and I want to cite some examples that Drew Willie has nothing to do with these type of negative plays. Here, the opening pass, this is the 6th play of the game, and basically that's very much a catchable football. And then you have a pass protection breakdown right there. He had no time to set up to go through any of his progression reads. And here, once again, you get the drop, you get the throw, you get the player up the middle, but you got to break some tackles. You got to do something to support your quarterback. Drew Willie needs everybody to play well for him to play well, Rod.
And kudos, Schultz, to Calgary's defense really bringing it as well in this one. And as far as the offense goes, Matty, the Stampeders wanted to establish the line of scrimmage and, unlike the BC game, get the ball in the hands of Jerome Messam.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I don't care if you got a young quarterback or a guy like Bo Levi Mitchell can get it done. And it helps when you have a running game, establish line of scrimmage. Now, Calgary, I like the fact that they don't get away from it. They're going to run a counter here. You know, Federkeil and Wilson are going to pull, but they're going to leave Cheyenne all alone by himself. And to me, it's one of those situations where Cheyenne Green's just going to read this, and he's going to say, oh, okay, I got this. And he closes like he should, and he gets it in his tackle for loss. But that doesn't bother the Calgary Stampeders, because say, you know what, if at first you don't succeed, try again, but try a different way. We're going to flatten them out with 6 offensive linemen down, and West is going to come in motion, going to run a counter play again. West is going to get in the way a little bit. Big lane for Jerome Messam. Now he's doing his thing, using his big body, 250 pounds, getting north-south. Last week, 7 touches, 16 yards. This half already, 8 touches, 47 yards, and they got 85 total yards rushing right now, and they're establishing the line of scrimmage, and that's where the game's won and lost.
What do you think our old buddy Lapo is doing right now?
Yeah, that's tough right now.
He's got to get aggressive. I mean, he's got to get aggressive with his offensive play calling, and I agree with Suits. He's got to push the football down the field, at least challenge this defense.
You think he'll take one of our calls right now if we were to call him right now?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah, I'll call him
Play
right now.
suggestions. Hey, by the way, how about Charbon Ocampo? What do you think of that catch?
That's a beautiful catch. That's money. I'm glad they didn't take that off the board.
Yeah,
great catch.
He gets the touchdown, and Calgary gets a bigger lead. Simon Charbon Ocampo, they review, hanging on to that football and just keeping a foot in. Beautiful for the Stampeders. Their offense starting to roll right now.
Bombers and Stamp both looking for their first victory of 2016. And now from 45 yards out, it is blocked. And the Bombers get on it. And it's Julian Posey with it. And Posey's out around the 2. Second down, Nichols. And it looks like he's in. Touchdown, Bombers.
And in Calgary at the half, the Stamps leading the Bombers by 13. Here's Milt with the stats.
Well, you look at the total yards, 236 for the Stampeders, pretty good. 113, not so much for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They got to get Andrew Harris involved, running and passing.
Thanks to special teams, they briefly had the lead, but back came the Stampeders, 20-7.
Simon, just an incredible catch for a touchdown at the end of the half. Describe that play for us.
Well, I feel like it was pretty tight. It was a pretty good throw by both two. I mean, it was there or nowhere. Only me could catch it at that spot. But we got to keep going at it in red zone, and we got to keep putting some points when we can do it.
How important is that success in the red zone, especially after last week where it wasn't as successful?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like everybody want to, have a better game than last week at that regards. And we had a good practice, towards that the whole week. So I'm happy it went that way today, and hopefully it's going to keep going that way in the second half.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Jermaine Franklin with Simon Charbon Ocampo with a great catch. Give Calgary an even bigger lead, padding it up to 20-7 with the second half kickoff coming up here in Friday Night Football on TSN.
It's Friday Night Football. Yeah!
How about that for a Canada Day postcard shot? Getting set for the second half. 20-7, Stamps with the lead. Jermaine Franklin with Andrew Harris.
Andrew, not as slow a start as you guys had last game, but how do you guys improve for the second half?
Well, that first drive was successful, but we just got to keep on doing that. Too many 2-and-outs. Their defense is making plays. We just got to overcome that.
What will be some of the keys for you guys to find more success moving forward?
Just being productive on first down. We got to get more yards on that first down, and get ourselves in second and short, or just converting those. So that's the biggest key right now.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Last week, 77 yards of offense in the first half. Tonight, 113. Not good enough for Mike O'Shea and the Bombers.
Got to get that offense rolling.
And it'll be Calgary getting their hands on the football. First here in the third quarter with the wind at the back of Roy Finch. He gets brought down around the 35-yard line with a flag.
There is a flag down.
I think this will go against the Calgary Stampeders on the return, a holding call. Put them back in a hole here to start the second
During the
half.
return, holding Calgary number 46, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Charlie Power called on the hold out of the University of Saskatchewan. Good numbers for Bo Levi Mitchell, and while everybody looks for Winnipeg on offense to be better, that Bomber defense going to have to get Calgary off the field.
Yeah, you mentioned those last few drives for Calgary with a couple of touchdowns and a field goal, and you're absolutely right. This is a perfect situation for Winnipeg to do that. The penalty pushes Bo Levi Mitchell back. He'll start inside his 20-yard line. In fact, just past the 10. See if Richie Hall dials up a couple of blitzes down here.
First down, back in the hands of Messam. Breaks a tackle and breaks it all the way to the 32-yard line. Big guy rumbling here tonight. 21 on his first carry of the second half.
Yeah, watch the block he gets from Derek Dennis here, who's going to get out here and get in the second level. When your tackle, your guards can get up into the second level, now your running back has a chance. There's the block. Ian Wild can't get there. Jerome Messam picks his way through the hole, then breaks an arm tackle, and away he goes.
Worst field position start of the night, but Messam takes care of that. Now they swing it to McDaniel, and he breaks through. Whoa! There's a collision at the end as Macho Harris lives up to his nickname.
Big play in the first half for Macho Harris on the blocked field goal. Set up the Winnipeg touchdown. And brace yourself, folks.
That's hitting the wall.
Shoulder to shoulder, too. A little bit of helmet contact, but that's just a good, clean, hard hit.
First and 10, back-to-back first downs, and Messam slides across the 47-yard line.
I think that's what's extraordinary about Jerome Messam. We talked about his size at 6'3", 263 pounds. At that big, you should be a north-south runner. Get the pad level down and just hit the line and run over whoever's in your path. But Messam doesn't just do that. He's got the feet to bounce and the patience and vision to pick his way through a hole or two down the field. Multi-dimensional running back.
You saw the numbers after 16 last week on 7 carries. Pass incomplete. Bruce Johnson defensively against Kamar Jordan.
Kamar Jordan had it. can't throw it any better. Tried to turn the corner, and he just sort of fought the football, and it bounced out of his hands.
They're giving him a catch.
They're saying he caught it and went out of bounds.
Okay.
I thought he dropped it when he got to the sideline. He was kind of fighting and twisting it. He turns there.
Wow.
Well, it could have been ruled that he fumbled it out of bounds, too.
No challenge for the Bombers that he didn't have possession. Here's Torrey Harrison with a hurdle, and what a run that was. And the ground game is starting to roll for Calgary. 22 for Harrison.
And the tackling and the angles for the Bombers are starting to deteriorate here pretty badly. Missed tackles, guys ducking their head and going low. Let's take that look at that play one more time to Jordan. I thought he dropped that, but it looked like...
Didn't look like he had 2 steps with control, but that doesn't matter now, does it?
No challenge.
Jordan on the sweep. He'll cut back and makes a couple men miss before Khalil Bass brings him to the turf, but that's 5 more.
Look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and their sort of their body language. I mean, they've got the hands on the hip. You know, not a lot of enthusiasm on defense, not trying to encourage each other. I mean, this is a time now they've got to buckle down and start to help each other out, and the leaders got to step up. The body language is saying that they're beat.
Started at their own 11, and now a Mitchell pass incomplete. Looked like Marquay McDaniel had trouble tracking it, and it will be 3rd down.
See, watch the defensive linemen. And now you're back in the secondary here, and they're kind of just moving around and hands on the hip. You know, there's 2 things that could be happening. One is, you know, you feel like you're getting beat down, so your body language and your head starts to drop a little bit. That's when tackling gets sloppy. But it's also, if it's fatigue, then that's an issue, because it's too early to be tired. They've got to be...
Even with being on the field for 20 minutes plus in the first half?
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I mean, they've got to play with some enthusiasm, and they get the stop, but...
From 36, Paredes puts it through. Now it's a 16-point lead for the Stamps here on Canada Day. TSN Fantasy Football's back. Register now at tsn.ca/CFL Fantasy for your chance to win a weekly Moores gift card or the grand prize, a Joseph Abood wardrobe and trip for True to the Grey Cup. After the field goal, Bombers take possession at their own 35 and got to make something happen. Not here. Oh, boy. Andrew Harris stopped. Frank Beltre was there along with Joe Burnett.
Beltre gets up the field, and let's look at the difference here after a big play made by the Calgary Stampeders. Okay, big play by Beltre, gets a loss, tackle.
Loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Willie takes off and slides feet first. He's going to be a yard or 2 short.
Just want to go back, Chris, if we could, quickly to Frank Beltre. Now watch him make this play, and look at the enthusiasm. Look at the guys. All right, man, love it. Game's got to be fun, right? And there's other teammates jumping around. Remember when Macho Harris made the big hit defensively? Watch this. Now watch the Bombers. That's a huge hit. They're kind of like, yeah, okay, back to the huddle. I mean, that's where the leaders have got to step up and say, let's go, boys, let's have some fun out here.
Medlock boots it away. Finch outside the numbers. 41-yard punt. Good job to cover it downfield.
Big hit on the teams.
But back out comes Jerome Messam. Been a freight train here tonight, especially on that last drive. In the off season and during training camp, a real buzz around this Bomber team, but it's been a buzz kill since, well, the last 6 quarters. And the question, Suits, is how do they generate a little excitement and put the buzz back in the Bombers?
They got to lean on their leaders. The leader on defense, his 4th year with the Bombers, really is Ian Wild. This Maurice Leggett's been there 3.
From the 31, Mitchell under pressure. Green trying to get to him. Downfield, wide open was Markway McDaniel. Tagged down by Chris Randall. 5th catch of the night for McDaniel.
Good pass rush up the middle from Euclid Cummings. And he almost gets to Bo Levi Mitchell, who's going to escape out this way, out the right side of the formation. And then once he gets outside it contains, see, Jamal Westerman went on an inside pass rush move and contain was lost. Mitchell jumps out there and he's got an open receiver in Markway McDaniel.
41 yards on the play. 5th catch, 91 yards on the night for McDaniel. Now it's Messam. Trying to find a hole, and this time nothing there. Westerman's got a grab on him. So along with Jake Thomas.
Really, Chris, 2 things I guess a coach can do. I mean, he leans on his veterans. That's one thing. Talks to the veterans like Ian Wild says, Ian, get him going out there. I mean, have some fun. Fly around with the football. If that doesn't work, you start benching people. You start sitting down people, and it wouldn't be Ian Wild because he's playing hard. But you start to bench the guys that you think aren't playing with great enthusiasm.
Wild with 4 tackles tonight.
That will send a message.
I was thinking, as a player, nobody was a better self-motivator than Mike O'Shea. Here's Mitchell downfield. West, touchdown! There's another highlight reel play. Go West!
We've seen a couple tonight, but this is a beauty. One-hander.
Who needs 2 hands? A 38-yarder in stride, one-handed.
We've got a couple for the top 10 catches tonight.
So they'll review to make sure that he was breaking the plane when that knee touched down.
Previous play is under review by the command center.
Hard to tell from that angle. This might be more telling.
Chris, I've always been and sat in these rules committee meetings, and I've been for reviewing scoring plays. I've been for all of this sort of technology and using it to get the calls right. This is one of the little downsides. That's a huge play.
All day.
Let's go.
You, Mom. 143. All my little shorties. You know where you at, Holly. Love you.
Again, the call on the field was a touchdown. Is there enough there to mark it at the 1?
Well, the Campo catch in the corner, I mean, that one they had to take a look at because he could have used the ground to trap it. He didn't.
Boy, there's pretty big plays to compare tonight. That Nick Moore catch was pretty sweet in Hamilton. And we've had a couple of, one touchdown and one potential touchdown.
Ball carriers down at the 1-yard line. First down, Calgary.
Well, and that's why it took a little longer, because they've reviewed it now and determined that the knee touch before the ball crossed the plane it doesn't take away from how great that catch was. And now the ball be on the 1-yard line, but here's another look at it, and the knee, the right knee right there touches before the ball crosses the plane. And again, that's why you're behind, or you want to be behind, video review to get the call right.
Kevin Fogg was in coverage. Andrew Buckley, Canada Day touchdown for the kid from Calgary.
Finished it anyway. I want to get the play right. It took a little bit of the air out of the bubble, but for the Calgary Stampeders, didn't matter. Andrew Buckley off that left side. Seems now when they found the answer in short yardage, the Calgary Stampeders, and that's the left side of the offensive line with Rob Cote over there as the tight end. And another good block by him.
They'll line up for the convert. Paredes puts it through, and the Stamps hit 30. One of the early candidates for play of the year, Joe West, a 37-yard reception, setting up the Buckley touchdown.
Mitchell knew where he wanted to throw the ball because he's got press coverage from Kevin Fogg. You see that little subtle move that Joe West did to move inside, making it look like to Fogg that he might try and run an in route or a slant. Fogg cuts inside technique. That allows Joe West to get outside and to step on him, and Mitchell lays it out there for him. One-hander.
4-play drive, 79. Bo Levi Mitchell, 2 for 2 and 78 yards. Up to 270 on the night. McDuffie hit but glanced off and continues to work his way ahead. Boy, that's a terrific return. William Langley finally brings him down.
What?
There's Andrew Buckley celebrating the touchdown. Well, again, field position has been an issue. They keep starting inside their own 30. And Drew Willie needs a drive, or maybe one big play. 3-man rush, and Darvin Adams comes up with it, and Adams shakes loose to the 41 before Deron Mayo drags him down.
Tremendous concentration from Darvin Adams, because I thought that was a pick. I thought that was going back the other way. Jamar Wall jumps it. Look how close he is.
14 for Adams, who had a 79-yard touchdown strike against Calgary last year. That ball batted down. And it will be 2nd and 10.
Like two-way Quinn Smith.
Yes, the singing offensive and defensive lineman. Apparently he takes requests and performs here locally a little bit.
Well, he can play some Garth Brooks. I'm in. I'll request. I'll call Baton Rouge or something.
2nd and 10. A pump. Nobody there. Swings it into the flat, and Harris can't make the catch. Offense can't stay on the field.
Couple deep routes there. They had Darvin Adams and Ryan Smith down the field, and Willie just didn't feel comfortable to pull the trigger.
You know, you talked about body language, and you think what a difference it would have made had they been able to kick a field goal to end the first half.
Oh yeah, big.
Instead of a positive, it was a huge negative to squander a chance. 21-yard punt. Good contain there as Timothy Flanders leads the charge downfield. But Bo Levi Mitchell's on a roll. He has 270 pass yards in the game. Quick Six has a new rider. There's Chelsea Drake. Her mom was honored at halftime. And with more on that, here's Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. You know, one of the most iconic images of the CFL is Quick Six, the Stampeders touchdown horse going up and down the sidelines after a touchdown. Karen Drake has been riding Quick Six for 23 years. 5 different versions of the horses. Now, today, she retires and hands the reins to her daughter, Chelsea. Chelsea brings in her own horse. The name is the Joker, but we will be knowing the horse as Quick Six. The tradition continues.
Yes, it does. It continued when Quick Six entered the Royal York in 2012. There's been some controversy about Quick Six getting to make appearances at Grey Cups. But indeed, an iconic image.
5 appearances for Karen Drake in Grey Cups, and there's been a few football players ride Quick Six after wins.
Pitch to Messam, and Messam's got a hole, and a foot race now. Big Jerome Messam finally dragged down inside the 25. Kevin Fogg just saved another touchdown But the Bombers defenders are playing catch up here in the second half. That's a 53-yard rumble.
Dan Fader-Kyle's going to come out and pull and lead the way here from that right tackle. And you see Spencer Wilson get down to the next level, and there is a gaping hole for Jerome Messman. And he can make the moves in the hole. He's got the power, he's got the size, and he's got some jets too.
That matches his season best last year.
Get ready, Chelsea. Your first ride might be around the right around the corner.
Mitchell for McDaniel, looking for that touchdown pass, but it's incomplete.
Take a look at Quick Six and the Grey Cup in Vancouver. Karen Drake, and there is Bo Levi Mitchell celebrating. How many times have we seen that picture when they went?
Oh,
well, that was
a different one.
That's when Quick Six was driving. I was just along for the ride there.
Remember another iconic shot? Rocco Romano got to ride Quick Six after a Grey Cup victory. There's Mitchell, got it through, and McDaniel cut down at the 10, but the Stamps rolling again. Ian Wild with the tackle, 6th catch of the night for McDaniel, over 100.
And she said, Karen Drake told me before the game, she said, I've run over a photographer. We've been close to running over a couple of players. 23 years, some great memories. I said, when was Quick Six exercising most? And she said, when Doug Flutie played quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders. Quick Six got a lot of exercise.
Stamps 3 for 3 in the red zone tonight. Here's Mitchell swinging it out, and McDaniel couldn't reach that one. Markway quiet last week, 2 for 20, but he's reestablished as the go-to guy here in this Calgary offense.
Yeah, so smart, like a quarterback out in the receiving core that can find the holes in the zones, knows when a blitz is coming, and he has to change his route to help the quarterback out.
Number 8 among receivers last year. Played in his 100th CFL game last week in BC. Second down. And Mitchell over the middle. Touchdown. And Markway McDaniel hits pay dirt. His 30th career touchdown catch. And Q Quick Six again.
Well, Chelsea's got it. This is the first ride, the rookie ride. Quick Six is saying, wait a minute. Okay, let's get her going. Markway McDaniel looks like he's going to block. Maurice Leggett off the edge, lets him slip underneath, and then takes off to the end zone.
Paredes misses the convert, so it's 36-7, 33 unanswered points since the second play of the second quarter. Well, the drive started with that 53-yarder to run by Messam, and McDaniel took care of the rest.
Yeah, see, he just slipped Leggett there and ran on the inside leverage on Macho Harris. You know, and keep in mind, that 7 points on the board for the Bombers was off the blocked field goal by Macho Harris. But you're right, Markway McDaniel back, leading that receiving core. Great catch down the field by Joe West recently.
Damon, Kylie, Jr. Always for Penelope. Love you.
Second touchdown pass for Mitchell on the night, now at 295 yards passing.
Play 80.
And with this kind of lead, see if Dave Dickinson leads his quarterback in or gives Drew Tate or Andrew Buckley more work. Paredes drives Timothy Flanders back. And Flanders up over the 30 to the 34-yard line.
You know, Milt at the halftime break basically was saying that he thought that Andrew Harris could be more involved. I think they're beyond Harris right now. I mean, it's time to push the ball. It's time to see if your playmakers and guys like Darvin Adams can go up and make something happen to inject some life into this team. No, Paul LaPolice has tried, he's got routes called that have deep guys, but Drew Willie's just not pulling the trigger on it.
And Willie in trouble is tossed down.
That time he didn't have time to throw it.
Halfback blitz. Brandon Smith gets home. Said Devon Claybrooks might be a little more aggressive than his predecessor, Rich Stubler.
There's where the blitz comes, and you know who is most important on a halfback blitz is the defensive end to make sure he takes the inside shoulder of the tackle so the tackle can't reach out and get a piece of the blitzer.
2nd and 18. From the pocket, drops it off. Andrew Harris back to the original line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and Calgary defensively are going to let you do that on 2nd and long. Dump it underneath and rally to make the tackle.
Fifth 2 and out for the Bombers, and again, their touchdown set up by a blocked field goal. Only needed to punch it in from 2 yards out. And they have been stuck in neutral ever since. Finch gets across the 35-yard line, and let's see, it is Bo Levi Mitchell who continues to go to work at the controls for Calgary. Last year, the Stamps swept 3 meetings. One was like this, 36-8, but the other 2 were tight games, 25-23, 26-25. The 26-25 game, Winnipeg had a 15-point lead early. Calgary caught them in the final minute for the win. Messam's going to add to his totals. Another good run. 8 to 9 more for Jerome Messam.
Run defense is about 12 hats to the football. That's what it's about. It's not, yeah, you have to take your gap and your responsibility, but it's rallying. And I know sometimes a defensive line or a middle linebacker or an Ian Wild gets sort of all the criticism when team is running the ball well on them. But team defense when it comes to stopping the run, 12 hats to the ball.
8th career 100-yard game for Messam. They keep feeding him the football, and on 2nd and short, doesn't look like he's got it. Had to get to the 47. Give him 1 3rd and 1. Or maybe a little less. 3 for 3 on 3rd downs tonight. Straight ahead for Mitchell to move the chains. Final play, 3rd quarter. Again, 33 unanswered points for the Stampeders in control through 45 minutes with some highlight reel plays like that one-hander from Joe West. 36-7, 3-quarter time in Calgary. Team that hasn't lost 2 in a row in 70 games doesn't look like they're going to lose 2 in a row.
Look at that bottom. Look at that bottom line. I mean, that 3rd quarter alone, 21 yards for the Winnipeg offense, 235 for Bo. If you were talking to me, I was you, and Bo Levi Mitchell was me, and he was standing there like this, and I was talking. He goes, "Yeah, we need to finish."
That's the game face.
Yeah. We didn't, like, he was absolutely locked in, and I thought he might have a game like this. Now, his receivers have helped him out in a big, big way. That catch by Joe West is as good as it gets.
They only scored 1 point in the 4th quarter last week. They may not need any points here tonight. But the Calgary offense is regaining its identity, and that was a concern, at least, or a focus coming into this game. Well-balanced attack. Torrey Harrison, Bo Levi Mitchell, working with a new head coach, and he talked about the difference.
The only difference is not having that red face to come out there and yell at you when you mess up. I think y'all seen the picture enough. Huff can be an intimidating guy, especially some young rookies. But he makes you get it. You know, when you make a mistake, he makes those guys get it and understand that it's just not acceptable if we're going to play winning football.
Well, he worked under one great quarterback in John Hufnagel, and now working under another. And he gets it back into the hands of Joe West. Trying to juke past Kevin Fogg, and Bo Levi Mitchell now over 300 on the night.
Of course, Bo Levi Mitchell having some fun there with his general manager and president, and, you know, John Hufnagel, huge influence in his career and his success, and he's going to improve to 29-7 as a starter. And he said to me, you know, Dave Dickinson has been in the plan, and it's just a nice transition to get to him. And I always wondered with John Hufnagel on the sideline was what he was writing down when he'd hold that pen, and after a play with that scowl he'd have, he'd make a little note. And if I was a player coming to the sideline like Bo mentioned and had some fun with, I'd be going, Coach, you're not writing down that was a minus, I hope.
Just the second punt of the night for Rob Maver. It's a good one. Bouncing down around the 10 and out of bounds, so no return at the 11. We have a flag back, and it looks like they're going to have to re-punt. We'll sort it out when we come back. Not too far from the Bow River, where they'll re-punt after a holding call against Stampeder rookie Jagarrett Davis. So Maver to do it again. This kick not as deep, and it will bounce out around the 27-yard line.
Mark at the 28-yard line.
34-yard punt by Maver. Drew Willie's got to get something going to put a positive spin
for next week.
Preparation for next week.
Without question. Yeah, they've got to pedal to the metal here, take some shots, try and get some big plays that you can carry over into next week.
Just 104 yards passing, a pump and go. Ryan Smith's got it. And there's a positive play into Calgary territory. Second catch for Smith at the Stamp 54-yard line.
A little change up by Devon Claybrooks, the defensive coordinator. He's got Charleston Hughes off the line of scrimmage and dropping back underneath this. I'm sure Drew Willie noticed that and thought, okay, let me throw this 20-yard strike down the seam.
28-yard play into the flat. Andrew Harris makes Brandon Smith miss, and it's another Bomber first down. Dragged down by Deron Mayo after a nice move on the veteran Smith. 14 for Harris.
Calling plays on the line of scrimmage.
And now the hitch to Ryan Smith. And an extra move to get a first down. Brought down by Tommy Campbell, help from the safety Josh Bell. So the tempo has kick-started the offense.
Playing against a defense at this point in the game that may be loosened up a little bit now. Just saying, just keep them in front of you.
Somebody move on that offensive line.
Procedure. Winnipeg number 53. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Right tackle Pat Neufeld. Regina native, Luther High School in his 6th year.
Boy, that crushes tempo.
Yep. First and 15. 4 receivers near side. They go back the other way, and here's Harris. And Andrew Harris has a first down. Finally dropped around the 20. We'll just confirm the spot because it's right at the first down stick.
Andrew Harris got up limping a little bit. Nice call here on the screenplay, though. Get Andrew Harris out here, just time it up. Got a nice block down the field. Didn't catch the number. I thought it was Patrick Neufeld, but Chung, he just gets a nice kick-out block, and inside of that goes Andrew Harris.
5 catches, 52 yards for Harris. Willie, flush from the pocket, on the run, throws, and incomplete. Wanted Darvin Adams. You mentioned Suk Chung on Canada Day. We wanted to salute some of the Canadian players from Port Coquitlam and Terry Fox High School. And if you have a chance to mention Terry Fox on Canada Day, you take it. And Suk Chung, one of the bright spots in his second year at right guard for these Bombers.
Nice block on that screen.
Into the end zone and overshoots the intended target, Jace Davis. His number hasn't been called much tonight.
Had that outside leverage on the corner route on Jamar Wall. Ball placement still a bit of a problem for Drew Willie. I mean, this is a pretty good route here. Wall picks him up late. You see he's got outside leverage. If the ball's put out there and a little more air under it, I think Davis gets it. Gets to it.
Offense stays on the field. 3rd and 10. And Willie over the middle. He's got Davis. They've got the first down at the 4-yard line. The offense stays on the field.
And there's the placement and the accuracy that we saw a couple of years ago from Drew Willie when he first became a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. He has a nice pocket, steps up there, and he's going to place that ball right where the receiver ends up and hits it right on the one.
1st and goal, and it is a touchdown. Darvin Adams. Darvin Adams with his 2nd touchdown of the year, and the Bombers have their first points of the second half.
Now it started with that throw down the seam to Ryan Smith to get things going. A little bit more of aggressive thinking. Now, I know what a lot of people are saying, too little, too late. 9 minutes is a lot of time. Let's see if their defense can feed off some of this momentum after that last drive.
Headlock puts the convert through. So it's 36-14. 9:09 remaining. Drew Willie threads the needle. And Darvin Adams has the touchdown. So traction for the Bomber offense at last in the second half, and Darvin Adams caps the drive with his 2nd touchdown of the season. Roy Finch drops back. And Medlock kicks off after the 82-yard touchdown drive, and it's a beauty. And Finch is going to concede 1. And that makes it a 3-touchdown lead.
Well, let's take another look at Darvin Adams' 2nd touchdown of the 2016 campaign. He's got sort of that press coverage on top, gets a nice little inside cut, protects the football, almost like blocking out and rebounding in basketball. And
that's tough to defend, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't get your hands around there as long as you got your body in good position and inside leverage.
7 plays, 82 yards. So Bo Levi Mitchell over 300. The offense over 500. Best last year was 441 in a game against Saskatchewan. And he wants a lot more than that as he goes deep. Intended for Charbonneau Campo.
Interesting call there when you have the lead, trying to take away some momentum, and you got Jerome Messam at 135 yards rushing already.
Isn't job 1 right now to just
grind it out?
Roll that clock.
Roll the clock, grind it out.
it would go against the run of play we've seen tonight, but as you mentioned, there is still enough time. Bombers have the win here in the fourth quarter, looking for a 2 and out, and they're going to get it. West stopped short, unless Dave Dickinson decides he wants to gamble, and the punt team's already out.
Yeah, no shot there with this lead, and it's a full 2 yards.
Punt team on, and Quincy McDuffie drops back. Had a 29-yard return last week. Maver had one return against him last week. Big boot. McDuffie backpedals to the 12. Looking for a crease, and he gets brought down. Nice cover there by Charlie Power. Well, on this Canada Day, we wanted the opportunity to salute one of the greatest Canadian players in the history of this league. John Cornish won 3 top Canadians in succession, an MOP in the league. In his retirement, we're going to miss him. He is standing by with Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. That's right. We are going to miss John Cornish. Well, we miss you already. How has retirement been for you? Has it been difficult at all? Because it looks like you still have some football in you.
I certainly do have some football in me, but it's been a very smooth transition. I think most players, they don't have the opportunity to come out and actually still be at game days, but not playing. And I'm really thankful to the Stamps for awarding me this opportunity because it's been awesome.
Just want to get your thoughts on the run game. First game, it was almost non-existent, but it's turned around. What has been the difference in this Stamps team?
You know, we have a lot of great running backs on this team. I strongly feel that we will have the strongest running attack in the league. I think the only difference is that BC is a very strong team. I think they evidenced that tonight. So I think going forward, you know, with us sticking to the run game a little bit more, you'll see a strong Stampeders offense.
John, you're one of the great all-time Canadian backs. This game features 2 great Canadian backs in Harris and Messam. I guess the tradition continues. What does that mean, or what comes to mind when you think about that?
You know, I thought this was going to be a great matchup tonight between Messam and Harris. But, I mean, I think it goes beyond that. Like, Harris is the guy, and Messam's part of a team of running backs. And I think we're playing that to our advantage. I think we have the guys on our team that will make plays. You know, you Messam, hit him hard. You got other guys that can, be shaky. You know, those kind of advantages. You don't need one guy. We have a crew, and our crew is pretty strong.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, best era of Canadian running backs in a long, long time.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Calgary, number 28. 10-yard penalty. Still second down.
So, you know you've got a nice, comfortable lead. And John Cornish, thank you for that interview on the sideline.
2nd and 4. Willie to this near side. And Jace Davis has the catch, brought down by Fred Bennett.
You know you have a comfortable lead when you're getting ready for an interview, and in the middle of it, the starting quarterback comes over and says,
"The president right now."
Yeah,
talking to the president.
You know, if not for the concussions, you know, John Cornish should still be on the field and might really have established some records in the league. There is Beltre taking down Adams.
No, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, as good as it gets. I mean, John Cornish, when he had a big game, it wasn't 140, 150, it was 200. It was over 200. I mean, John, when he won those 3 outstanding Canadian awards, they were starting to say, let's just call it the John Cornish Award, because if he isn't winning it, he's in the running. He's a finalist.
Josh Bell, safety blitz, but Willie gets it away, and a terrific catch by Adams for a first down. Willie a little slow to get up after the blindside hit on the safety blitz.
Yeah, it wasn't picked up on the backside. But what a catch at the other end. Darvin Adams has to lay out, pull it in. Take a look. Here comes Josh Bell, number 11, unblocked. And we have 5 up, and they send 6. The quarterback's got to get it out of there before that rusher can get there.
Got an injured Stampeder, Quinn Smith, shaken up.
Boy, I like this secondary in Calgary. I'd take a look. That was Josh Bell coming off the edge. And take a look at the experience. Bell, 5 years in the league, but 3 years here in Calgary. And on the outside, Fred Bennett and Jamar Wall have worked together for 4 straight years. This will be year 5 working that short side. Tommy Campbell was a 2011 NFL draft pick. He's the newcomer to the group, but he played 37 games for the Tennessee Titans. And he can fly. I think this group could really gel and become the #1 secondary in the league. And that's all due respect to good secondary out in BC. And I know there's a bunch because I'll get all the tweets quickly. But think about this group and their pedigree. I mean, you look at 3 of the 5 were drafted in the National Football League. Fred Bennett in 07, the 4th round to Houston. Jamar Wall in the 6th round to Dallas. By the way, that 07 draft, Darrelle Revis was in that draft, one of the top DBs to go. I think he was the 2nd corner. There were 30 corners taken, and Fred Bennett in that draft was taken around number 12 of the corners drafted.
Wall and Smith, all CFL in their career. Josh Bell, the safety, first-time Western All-Star last year. So it is a deep group. Smith making his way slowly to the sidelines.
By the way, a guy on the field tonight that was in that draft as well, Justin Medlock.
Bombers have a first down at the Winnipeg 40. Here comes the rush. Willie steps up. He's got to take off and lunges ahead for about 3.
Those tough on the field deserve a truck that's tough on the road. The 2016 GMC Sierra.
So there was Willie, unable to find anybody open against that tight secondary, but away goes Andrew Harris, and he's across midfield. Joe Burnett able to knock him off stride, but a 17-yard pickup for Harris.
You know, and I wanted to bring up that secondary for a couple of reasons. One is that I really do believe this could become a real solid group, in fact, an all-star group. But the other is Drew Willie, for 3 quarters, struggled.
Ninth play of this drive.
You know, and
Thomas Mayo with the catch.
And it's easy, Chris, for us to sit up here and say, you know, he needs to push it deep. He needs to, and they do need to add more of that and take some more chances down the field. There's no question. But when you're playing against a great secondary that's shutting it down, and the windows are small, and you can't get guys open.
Harris takes the handoff and takes a big hit at the 36-yard line.
It's tough to even read these last 2 drives for Winnipeg because it's, you know, almost impossible. Human nature dictates for the Calgary defense that they just can't keep the intensity up when they have the big lead.
Harris to the sidelines. Under 4 minutes to go. And now Willie looks for Ryan Smith and got him over the middle, down around the 18.
The other thing we haven't mentioned, and this is not to give the Bombers an alibi, they've got work to do. And, you know, I think the first place they can start is just their energy level. Not that they're not playing hard or working hard. It's just that enthusiasm, that excitement to be out there and have some fun and fly around and make plays. But they didn't have Weston Dressler in the lineup. And that was a good decision by Michael O'Shea, because he was very close, and it would be tempting for the head coach to push Weston Dressler into the lineup or try to get him into the lineup just slightly ahead of when he should have. He was hitting the head a week ago. He was very close, but it was a good decision and the right decision for O'Shea to give him another week. But they miss him in the lineup as well.
Brandon Smith, the injured Calgary Stampeder, part of that lockdown secondary. A reminder, Wimbledon continues tomorrow, day 6 of the tournament on the grass courts. Coverage begins 6:30 a.m. Eastern, 3:30 in the morning Pacific on TSN2. Smith not quite ready yet to head to the sidelines. Looks like Joe Burnett might drop back in that secondary. Or no, I see Osagi Odiazi moving in there into... I had to try it.
You get
the best story about Osagi is in the first preseason game, they put his first name on his nameplate and didn't realize till after the game.
Well, let's stick with that for now. We'll get there.
Odiazi's in.
And you get a plus for going after him.
Willie throws Jace Davis, and there is Odiazi to make the play.
Odiazi steps up, man. Nice hit.
Rookie from Sacramento State. Same school as a guy by the name of Ricky Ray.
Who looked way better
Offside
last night.
Calgary number 39. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Last night in Regina, that big win for the Toronto Argonauts. Big difference between the offensive performance last night and the one in week 1 against Hamilton.
See if the Bombers can put it in the end zone before the 3-minute warning. Willie had to look one way, back the other for Harris. And he's tracked down and dropped, and there's Odiazi in to help out on the stop once again.
Odiazi saying, I'm gonna make so many tackles out here that you're gonna learn my name before it's over. And good for him getting some playing time. Oh, Brandon Smith is doing okay. He looked like he had some sort of cramping going on.
Winnipeg.
Timeout Winnipeg. 14th play of the drive upcoming. They want to get one more in before the warning.
You have 30 days after today's date to claim that prize. Meanwhile, Stampeders Executive Vice President Stan Schwartz would like to present VP Jim.
Well, the screw's starting to tighten a little bit. A little bit more on this Winnipeg football team.
On behalf of the Calgary Stampeders Foundation, thanks for supporting minor football in Calgary.
I think there's some confusion here whether or not the 3-minute warning has been given. Got some festivities on the field that have to be cleared away. And Tim Croker or Mike O'Shea talking with one of the officials on the sidelines.
Now they played against a better team tonight, and it probably doesn't change the outcome of this game, but there were 2 plays in this game that the Bombers didn't get field goals when they could have. One was when they, on the very first drive, tried to fake a field goal, and it wasn't successful. Got 0 points there, and then just before the half.
Sure what the issue is at the Bomber bench, but I think we're ready to go now. It's 1st and goal. Really short drop, end zone, and Jace Davis has a touchdown. His first in the CFL.
5 catches in game 1 for Jace Davis. In fact, he and Darvin Adams, the 2 receivers that were targeted most by Drew Willie. Now, I will say this about Willie's performance. In the 4th quarter here, his ball placement has improved.
In over 200 yards passing in the 4th quarter against Montreal in a game that was still within reach. Putting up numbers here in a game that is probably out of reach, but we will not go to the decision desk yet because it's 1 turnover away from getting interesting. Medlock splits the uprights, and now it's a 14-point lead for Calgary at the 3-minute warning at McMahon. Well, it doesn't get any easier, but we were just talking off camera. Everybody's been talking about running the gauntlet for Winnipeg in the next 6 games. But you want to play Ottawa? You want to play BC? There are no easy games,
Yeah,
no matter where you look.
BC in the first game tonight beat Hamilton. Edmonton, will bounce back. They lost in week 1, but this is a tough schedule, no question. But you put BC Ottawa in there, you've got tough opponents there too.
No, Scott Milanovic addressed his team after the first week loss. If you are not completely committed, you're not going to win a game against this competition. That ball stayed up for grabs a long time, and Calgary gets on it. But it bounced around a long time before Roy Finch got it for Calgary.
Did it get to 10 yards, I think? There's a flag down. The first question is, did it travel 10 yards? The next, was there any holding going on, or were people just trying to get to the football?
Long discussion. Calgary got the football, so whether it went 10 or not doesn't matter, but were Bombers interfered with en route to the ball.
Illegal interference, Calgary number 46.
And that's the case.
10-yard penalty. We will re-kick.
So they get a second chance here. Charlie Power, one of the special team guys for Dave Dickinson, flagged on the play.
Yeah, the guys on the front line can make contact as if they were blocking, but they can't tackle a player that's trying to get to the football. That's interference. You have to just go and try and scramble to the loose ball. Now Medlock's going to have another excellent kick like that to give the Bombers a chance. I mean, that was bang on. It was just past that 10-yard mark and had some backspin, so it pulled away from the Calgary defenders there.
And perhaps the interference is why that ball was allowed to bounce around instead of being claimed by a Bomber.
Now, Michael O'Shea, this is his expertise here, and there's a couple of options. You can try and do that sky ball again to the outside, or you can try and squib it forward and have Medlock try and recover that himself. It'll often depend on how Calgary lines up their onside kick return team.
What you do know is Justin Medlock probably has one of the best wedges in the CFL.
His short game is there?
His short game's there.
Well, I've seen him hit a few drives, too. That 58-yarder was a nice one down the middle.
So let's see how different the look is. Dave Dickinson.
There's correction on the penalty. We do have a legal block on Calgary, 46. Calgary will be assessed a 10-yard penalty and keep the ball first down.
Okay, so they don't re-kick. That was not an option, which surprises me because illegal interference can deny a team possession of the football in a sense, but that might be a flaw in the structure of the rule, not the interpretation. So it is, after that long delay, Stampeder football at the Winnipeg 52. And Messam takes the handoff. It's drilled down at the 50-yard line. A couple more on his totals, helped up by Macho Harris. 137 on the night for Messam. Played the final 2 regular season games for the Stamps after playing most of last year with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And re-signing with the Stamps as a free agent. Pitch to Messam, and he'll get dropped at the line of scrimmage.
We've been doing this for a long time. You and I want to say over 20 years, and when you know, every now and then you see something that you haven't seen, and
right,
I'm gonna, and I once or twice a year, or more than that, will call the head of officiating, Glenn Johnson, but it just doesn't seem, when you think of the return team gets a penalty and the ball back.
Yeah, it is confusing, and we weren't the only ones, thankfully, because it took a little bit of time to sort out on the field.
Yeah, and Dave Dickinson was walking out talking about it, and it may have come from the video official.
Oh, look at that by Maver. Flag is down, but Rob Maver hits the corner as he did so often last year. That's textbook stuff. 49 yards into the corner, but again, a flag on the play. And it's against Winnipeg, so the Maver punt will stand.
Holding.
It's a pretty good short game.
Winnipeg number 49. Penalty is declined. First down.
So a call against Sheon Green doesn't affect the Maver work. And he accepts congratulations. And now Winnipeg's only 109 yards from where they want to be. But look at the fourth quarter stats for Drew Willie tonight, matching what he did last week, fourth quarter wise.
Yeah, but
three-man rush. Dropped off underneath Jace Davis. The difference from last week, though, it was still a
game, yeah.
A game, and Montreal was playing full out on defense.
This has been different.
Calgary a little more in that prevent. Little breathing room, and now Willie airing it out, and he's got a completion. There is Mayo up at the 40-yard line. 2 plays, and the Bombers move it 39 yards, a 30-yard strike for Thomas Mayo. Of being a better receiver than Jerome Messam. I was a little surprised going back over last year's stats. They had the exact same number of catches, 53, and Messam actually had a few more yards, basically the exact same stat line receiving.
Yeah. I think you could use Messam as a tight end. I thought he caught the ball that well last year that you could move him to tight end, almost get him out as a receiver.
5 receivers out, second and short. There's a first down, and Harris is dropped after catch number 9. He'll move the chains. Glenn Love is in, and he made the tackle.
We started the show here on Canada Day with the introduction of 2 Canadian starting tailbacks, and Andrew Harris and Jerome Messam, and they were a storyline all night long. In some cases when Harris disappeared a little bit in the third quarter, but he's had a big fourth.
Just 13 yards rushing for Harris. Willie dodges out of trouble and has to throw it away. Quinn Smith back in the game, and he was hot in pursuit.
But young Canadian football players, young amateurs watching, if your dream is to take your game to the pro level in our country, you can do it in the skilled positions. We talked to John Cornish, Canadian, grew up in Vancouver, and he was a star tailback. Jerome Messam from Brampton, a star tailback. Andrew Harris grew up in Winnipeg, 1,000-yard guy.
First incompletion after 15 consecutive. Willie, a little behind, but it's brought in. Thomas Mayo makes the catch, and it's down inside the 20.
Those are important catches for a young Thomas Mayo, too. He's got a couple now in this drive, and important to get his confidence up, depending on the health of Weston Dressler. But
can they get it in this next play and give Medlock a chance for another short kick? Looking downfield and just out of the reach of Davis. But we've seen a little bit more of Mayo and Davis here in the fourth quarter after they had been overlooked for.
Let's not take our foot off the pedal too early.
Calgary.
Time for our Nissan Titan player of the game. And it's Canada Day, and fitting that a Canadian star, well deserving of the honors.
16 carries, 137 yards, his longest a 53-yarder in the second half. Honorable mention to the play calling, and I thought Bo Levi Mitchell really had a game of like we're used to seeing from him. Honorable mention to Bo as well, but no. It's Canada Day. Big game for Jerome Messam from Brampton, Ontario.
Nissan Titan player of the game brought to you by Nissan Titan, the official vehicle.
He just ran him right off the field, basically, and he did it with his back to him, playing the football. Now you avoid a pass interference call. Devon Claybrooks, defensive coordinator, steps in this year.
So, 3rd and 10. Bombers trying to stay alive, but it's not going to happen. He is sacked, and that will do it. Charleston Hughes with his first sack of the season, and number 73 as Dave Dickinson gets his first Gatorade shower as a winning head coach in the Canadian Football League. Well, the Stamps ice this one. And welcome to the win column, Dave Dickinson.
Yeah, the two rookie coaches in the league, head coaches in the league, lost game one. Jason Moss in Edmonton, Dave Dickinson in BC, lost that game, but there's his first win, got the first Gatorade shower. I'm sure there'll be more to come. This is a good performance top to bottom for his Calgary Stampeders.
We went for the one with the most ice, too.
We went for the one with the most ice, Coach.
Apparently a priority. Make sure they do it right. John Hufnagel, I'm sure, made his way down to the sidelines just to be one of the first to congratulate his successor.
Congrats, Coach.
Closing time in Calgary. And this one goes in the books. It's a Stampeder victory, 36-22. And Dave Dickinson has his first win. as a head coach.
Happy Canada Day, folks.
I'll cue the fireworks here at McMahon. Jerome Messam provided plenty of those tonight. 137 yards rushing. Stamps got their offense rolling. A balanced attack, some spectacular catches, and the win. So long from McMahon. Happy Canada Day. SportsCenter's now.